Hey guys, Nathan here from Nathan88K, and today I will be looking over the toys which have helped keep the Transformers franchise relevant. This is an overlook of the Transformers franchise, Part 1, the toys. Most people think that the Transformers toys that started this entire franchise in 1984 were created by Hasbro, but most of them were created by either Diaclone or Microchange, two Japanese brands which were all about transforming toys. Diaclone brought along Optimus and a bunch of the Autobots, while Microchange brought along Megatron, Soundwave, and more of the characters who change into smaller items. So, for the majority of G1, all of the toys were imported. They started using original characters and molds in around 1986 for Season 3, which is also how more new characters got brought around and how Beast Wars happened, because Hasbro finally decided to make their own things. At first, the Beast Wars figures weren't that accurate to what the show would end up being. Only a certain couple of characters would be, like Cheetor, Waspinator, Dinobot, Pterosaur. But the main plays, Optimus Primal and Megatron, they wouldn't be the same versions that you would see in the show. They would originally be a crocodile and a bat, but then they got changed into what the show was. And I say that's for the better. Following G1, there was G2, which lasted for like 2 years before Beast Wars. It just reissued a bunch of the episodes, plus created new figures. Following G1 and the Beast Wars era, there were multiple anime Transformers shows. First of all, Robots of Disguise 2001, which lasted for a couple years, and then the beginning of the Armada trilogy, not Armada, the Unicron trilogy with Transformers Armada, which led into the Unicron battles, and then into Energon, and Cybertron. Then it finished. They had a bunch of gimmicky toys, which looked quite cool and were large. These are some figures you would see back in the day. They were quite bulky and complicated in like their own specific ways, because all the characters were original and not just G1 for the 7 billionth time. As you can see, the sizing was weird. Some characters were way bigger than the others. A bunch of figures had electronics in them, as is Megatron with his lights and sounds. And they would all have these specific features. This is a really cool Starscream. You want his blaster from the show? No. You can have a brick instead, which turns into a blaster. This is the MechTech phase. This is a cool blaster figure. He's from Fall of Cybertron. Instead, he is a Soundwave remold. Most of the figures have a variant or just a recolor, which is a different figure. This is a strategy Hasbro's been using since the 80s. These are the core class figures. I have none. Deluxe class, Voyager class, Leader class, and Titan class. I have none. Quick reminder, make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, hit the notification bell, and stay tuned for the many other parts of this series. The movies had some of the most complicated looking characters. So when the toys were actually good, they were really good. Because to capture these weird designs into physical toys will really take a bunch of effort. And every time Hasbro got them properly, they were really nice. Especially like the current Studio Series line. All of those figures are great. Following the movies, we have Transformers Prime, which had more G1-esque versions of the movie designs. So they were slightly complicated, but they were also really nice. So these figures ended up just being really nice. And some of them have the mech tech weapons, just like Starscream's little brick. Following Prime and its sequel show, Robots in Disguise, we have Cyberverse, which had too many gimmicky toys. Each toy had to have a gimmick. The smallest classes won't even transform. And then following that, we have the War for Cybertron trilogy, which is really nice. They have really nice G1 figures, which are really good. This is an opinion that's shared by so many people. These figures are great, but there was too many G1 figures. They literally only brought along Beast Wars figures at the end, but then the bunch of that wave was still G1. This is Legacy, as I had none of these, so we're just going to look at a bunch of boxes. Legacy is kind of weird. Its first wave was G1 characters and then turning Prime characters into G1. But then they kind of brought it back with this Beast Wars Megatron and a couple other figures, where they're actually not only G1 figures. This is the exclusive Optimus Prime from Takara Tomy. It's first edition clear. These are good exclusives. Unlike Skywarp. Why is Skywarp an exclusive? Why does he cost £300? Why is Radget, someone who's mainly a part of the Big Five Autobots, expensive and exclusive? And I don't even get me started on Masterpiece. With Transformers being popular, it has a bunch of collaborations, most noticeably the Lego Optimus Prime, but it has a couple of Funko Pops as well. That was it for part 1. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to stick around and watch some other videos, and stay tuned for an overlook at the Transformers franchise part 2 for shows. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys next time. Next time on an overlook of the Transformers franchise.
Transformers, more than meets the eye. Autobots wage their battle to destroy the evil forces of the Decepticons. The Transformers, robots in disguise. The Transformers, more than meets the eye. The Transformers.